Thanks for tuning into this episode of our Homebuyer series. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the financing process. Now, the reality is that the real estate purchase side and the financing side are kind of two separate tracks that run parallel to each other, but they do connect. And in this episode, I want to give you a quick overview of what happens. I actually had the privilege of sitting down recently with Mark Moore, one of the top loan officers at Supreme Lending, and we went a little bit over the mortgage process and things to think about as you launch this process as a buyer. So let's take a look at that interview. So you take all the information from them, they've signed their disclosures. I always call it homework. Like, inevitably, there's some things that are asked for. What are the common things you guys are going to ask for?
Last 2 years tax returns, last 2 years W-2s if they're W-2 employee. Then we also need a pay stub. Depending on how many times a month they get paid, we'll need that many pay stubs. And then we'll also need 2 months bank statements showing the funds that they have in order to close.
Okay, just a handful of documents.
Yes,
that probably should have anyway.
Right, yeah.
And then you're asking that ahead of time just because you have that experience of knowing, like, hey, we're ready to go once it comes in.
Right. And
some of your other lenders, I think, ask for it in delayed in the back end.
Yeah, we want to get it front because the more we have up front, the less issues or problems that we have when we get near the end. Right.
One of the things I want to talk to you about is what happens during underwriting. So I'm thinking they take all those documents and the loan application and then what?
We then submit their loan application once it's complete through a portal through either Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or our government FHA program in order to get an approval. That approval tells us the documents we need, which we pretty much already know. That's why I send the list out. And then all an underwriter will do is once we submit that file to the underwriter and all those documents, they're just verifying what Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or HUD has asked for, that we have the correct documents.
Okay. They're almost like going through a checklist.
Exactly.
It sounds so much more complicated.
No,
but I guess when you break it down
most people
like
think that underwriter is, underwriting the file themselves and making all the decisions for the lender, but that's not true. They're there to protect the lender as well as protect themselves, and with, again, Fannie, Freddie, or HUD.
Okay.
And making sure the documents are correct.
What advice you could give to home buyers as they go through their process? It
would be to just make sure that they have, basically we say all our ducks in a row, right?
Yeah.
Have all your documentation, make sure it's presented in a timely manner to that loan officer. And once that is done, they'll find that it'll be a very smooth transaction.
After we've gone under contract, the lender is actually going to send you a list of required documents. Ideally, they might have sent that to you before and you've already gathered them up, so you're ready. But they're going to send you a list of required documents, and they're also going to send you quite a few loan disclosures. It's at this point that they actually lock in your interest rate and your loan terms. So spend a little bit of time talking with your loan officer, making sure you're satisfied with that, and then sign it promptly. Until you sign their disclosures, the process can't start. One way to think about the underwriting process is like a factory. If one part of that process stops, it can't move forward to the next step. In other words, the lender may come back to you and ask for additional information. When they do that, set yourself a goal of getting it back to them in 24 hours. That way they can continue moving forward in the process. Now, one of the things as part of the loan process that's really kind of happens behind the scenes for you as a buyer is the appraisal. Typically, after you've signed your disclosures, the lender will get that ordered. An appraisal will go out to the property, they'll coordinate all that with the sellers, and then they'll send back the appraisal report. So that's a piece that happens in the process, and ideally you've turned everything and signed your stuff quickly so that we're not having any delays on the back end. I will say this, lending can be the most stressful part about buying a home. It can feel like an invasive process, and they often ask for a lot of personal financial information. If you followed the advice earlier in the series and did this front end work with your lender, it can be a really smooth and enjoyable process. So make sure to do it that way. When you're buying a house and once you've gone under contract, don't do anything that's going to change your income or your credit status. So don't go buy that new boat to put in your garage. Don't quit your job because you want to look for something to work from home. Leave everything intact throughout the loan underwriting process so that any of these changes could cause problems for you. So keep your financial and your career situation the same while you're buying that home. I want to thank you for watching our Home Buyer series. On our next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about pre-closing and the things that happen as we lead up to the final step, which is closing. Thanks for tuning in again, and I look forward to connecting with you in person soon. Take care.